Wow, that's such a cool sticker. Turn around. Ready? Wow, that's great. Can you put your arms up? Big girl. Good morning. I finally have some information about the Zeo patch that Thea has, her heart monitor, and I wanted to kind of make a video just to describe, I guess, what led us to get this heart monitor. There's two separate ones, but also what some of the CCHS other friends may have seen, and what kind of pushed us to go ahead and do this. So I guess to start off with, she has what's called the Zeo monitor. So this monitor will monitor every single heartbeat for 14 days. So we went to have it placed, and they put it just right over her heart, so this side, right over her heart, and they taped it on. So hopefully it'll stay on for 14 days. Of course, we'll see. Anyways, as long as we can keep it is really the best. So it's going to measure every single heartbeat. Like I said, the hard thing with this is for CCHS kids, they don't necessarily have a heart condition. So whereas if you have a heart condition, chances are these things are going to pick it up fairly quick. For CCHS kids, and I'm going to speak for Thea because every CCHS kid is different. But for Thea, and from what I've seen, is these heart, so their heart pauses, they are brought on by other variables. So for Thea specifically, we've had quite a few occasions, but the two main ones this summer, and we weren't exactly sure if it was heart pauses, so we kind of thought about it for a while. I read some information on the CCHS page, families page, which is super helpful. It's kind of like their personal experiences and what kind of led them to do the heart pacer. Okay, so what led them to do the heart pacer? And so for us, this summer, we went out of town to two friends' weddings. The variables that were common between two were long days, long nights, so overexhaustion, plus high elevation. So her oxygen could have been somewhat low. But regardless, these things happened, and it was, like I said, within a few weeks. So things that we saw within Thea, she was very loopy, kind of lethargic. She wasn't tracking properly with her eyes. She just seemed very off. And, often she can seem off as far as sleepy or overly excited or kind of extremes, but this was very different. And these times she was not on her vent, and so of course we automatically got her put on her vent. Things that we saw when she was on her vent is, again, low oxygen, not just put her on her vent, but put her on all of her like nighttime medical equipment, which is her vent, her SpO2 monitor, which is oxygen and heart rate. Her heart rate was low. Her oxygen was low. Majority of time when her oxygen is low, it's positional. So we were able to kind of adjust those things to kind of help that out. But regardless, these things happened and they were scary. So another time when this happened, what we think now is a pause, was from being overly constipated. So with CCHS kids, they are known to have what's called Hirschsprung's disease. So Hirschsprung's is where they, from what I've read, and again, it might be different per person, Thea does not have Hirschsprung's, but she does have trouble with constipation, which is a common thing for her genetic mutation, so 2025. So what we saw in Thea was, again, overexhaustion. She was turning blue. She definitely was loopy, kind of lethargic. Like she looked, those 2 instances when we went to the wedding, just very off. Okay, so these were kind of the things that happened. So I would say altogether we've had about 4 times of these situations. And after the 2 weddings is whenever we had the constipation situation at home, and it was very similar. And that's kind of what led me to think maybe it wasn't just from the high elevation from the 2 weddings that she was feeling that way. Maybe it wasn't just the exhaustion of being up all day, all night. Maybe it was something more also. So I started doing research within the CCHS Families page. And what I found out is heart pauses are is like a trigger effect to something that's going on. So I have my little note card, don't mind me. So a few things that other people have experienced that has triggered these heart pauses are things like cramping, stomach pains, overly exhaustion like we saw, and other pains, constipation also, which we saw. Anyway, so that is really what led us to get this monitor. So the likelihood of this monitor pulling something up is extremely rare, right? We pretty much would have to kind of do things to set it off, such as not giving her her daily prune juice, which is going to make her overly constipated, which could signal that. So she's had her Zeo patch on for maybe 2 days now. She kind of seemed like she was sick yesterday. She was needing to be on the vent more. Last night she was needing oxygen, which we haven't needed in months. So I'm really hoping that maybe whatever illness or whatever's going on with her will help to trigger the Zeo patch, and that way we can actually get a true reading of if she's having heart pauses. So this is, I guess, what would happen next. So she will have this monitor on for 14 days. 14 days, and then after this monitor, we pull it off, we send it back to the company. It takes about 2 weeks for them to read it. Once they've read it, they send us the results. So say it picked up something on the monitor, this would lead us to what's called a heart pacer. So I've talked about before a diaphragmatic pacer, which is different. Of course, it's for your diaphragm, and this is something that we will absolutely have, fingers crossed. We need to talk to the main hospitals that deal with her with CCHS, and hopefully we can get a plan for the diaphragmatic pacer. Anyways, that's a whole other thing. So something that's also super common is having the heart pacer. So it sounds really scary. I mean, it's super scary for me to think of our baby having a heart pacer. But if you think about what these heart pauses are, I mean, she could potentially die from them. I know that's a little bit dramatic, but it's true. And I'm sure it's not an uncommon thing. I'm sure it has happened before. Regardless, we will see what happens. So I will keep you guys updated. Keep your fingers crossed that this monitor picks up something. And if not, then if we have even a few more times of these weird instances of where we think it might be heart related, she will have to get the pacer. So I will keep you guys updated on that. Again, as always, if you have any questions about anything, I'm not super great at making these YouTube videos, obviously, so I try to make them as informative as possible, but I think I kind of get sidetracked. So if there's something that I missed, please let me know, and I would love to answer it. If there's things that you know that I don't, please tell me those too, because I can only read so much, and I can only pick up so much stuff from other parents who have dealt with the same things. Anyways, yeah, thank you guys so much for all the love you guys always show us, and I will keep you updated.